Hello, I'm Doug Fell, and I have the honor of introducing Brendan Hansen. I'll get to that in a minute. But wow, what a great intro. There's not much I can add to that, and so I won't. I'm going to keep my part fairly short. But every one of those pictures up there in those clips, I know Brendan's probably got a special story about. Christine and I first met Brendan shortly after the Athens Olympics, where he competed, did quite well. And it was at Hutto when Tripp and Charlie had brought out some UT swimmers and other swimmers, and Brendan was one of them. And that's where he started, and his paths crossed through Hutto after having been around the world and swimming all over. But that's when his path crossed, our paths. And he's been coming to Hutto frequently ever since and making memories along with us. I've been fortunate to have known Brendan and done many things with him over the last 7 or 8, 9 years. And as a result of those get-togethers, mostly hunting related, I've become quite a fan of his. But more than that, of his swimming accomplishments. But more than that, and admire of him. It's quite an extraordinary young man. The fact that he was team captain not only of this last London Olympics, but also the prior Olympics in Beijing says a lot about his character and leadership abilities. But beyond this, I know a few people that have his class and his competitiveness and his drive and his passion and his heart. He's a true role model for all of our kids. And not only that, I think he's an inspiration to and for every one of us out here. You might have seen in that video, maybe one picture was a little bit out of place, and that was a picture of a deer from South Texas. Everything else was either swimming or there in Hutto. But there was that deer. Well, there's a story behind that deer, and I want to share it with you. I don't know what fool always said, we do things for the stories we can tell. Oh, that'd be me. But there's a story behind this deer, and there's also a story about Brendan and that deer, and I want to share it with you. And it has to do with doubt, and people that doubt him and how he responds. And in this case, I doubted him. Let me tell you the story. It was a cold winter day in December, and we were down at a little ranch in South Texas we call Zella. And we had asked Tripp and my son, and I had asked Brendan to come along, and he said, "Can I bring a friend?" And I said, "Sure." Well, who would that be? He said, "That's my dad." And that said a lot right there. But anyway, so we were hunting, and he and his dad were in a stand, and Tripp and Charlie and I were in another part of the ranch, and it was late. It was getting late that December evening, and I got a call on the little two-way radio, and it was Brendan. He said, "Doug, my dad shot at a deer, and I think he got him. Can you come over?" So I got in the four-wheeler and drove over to the Sendero along with Charlie and Tripp, and we were all there. And man, Brendan and his dad Buzz were just jumping up and down and so excited. He said, "We're sure we got him." But I said, "Which way did he go?" He said, "We're not real sure. It's getting dark." And Brendan said, "What do you think I ought to do? What can we do?" And man, it was getting darker by the minute. It was getting colder. And I thought a minute, and I reached in my pocket, And I pulled out a dime. Happened to be the only coin I had. And I flung that thing as deep off into that brush as I could. And I said, Brendan, your chance of finding that buck out there is about the same as you find that. I said, we really need to come back some more. Brendan looked at me and I looked over at his dad, and his dad lost that excitement. Smile dropped. Brendan looked at his dad, looked back at me, and says, Doug, I'm going in the brush. And he turned and walked into the brush. He had a little flashlight, and by now it was dark. And I sat there in that scenario waiting for something. 5, 10, 15 minutes later, finally I heard a yell from deep in the brush. Doug! Doug! I said, Brendan, is that you? If you're lost, keep walking towards my voice. He said, Doug, I'm not lost. And by the way, I found that dime. This told me a whole lot. I learned a lesson there about this young gun. Don't ever doubt him. I showed some doubt, and he responded, and he did what he went out to do, despite the great odds against us. It's kind of like swimming in that outside lane 8 against that wall. Not expected. This guy could do it. He did it. Anyway, you know the rest of that story with that deer sitting there and what that is with he and his dad. I said he shouldn't. He couldn't. He did. That's what I'm talking about. Please welcome 3-time Olympian.
Thank you, Doug, for the introduction and the video. And thank you to the EDC for having me out tonight. I really appreciate that. The great thing about that story was that my father worked Monday through Friday, my whole childhood. And so Saturdays were our only time to spend together. And the reason that my best friend is my dad is because of the outdoors. And my dad never shot a buck of that caliber. I had the opportunity to take him down there and do that, and that's how that whole story began. A dad that worked every day to make sure that I could go to practice and become the person that I am. And you as I start my next journey in becoming a father, I think you have great role models in that sense. And my dad, I was one of the luckiest kids in the world to have a dad the way I did, because he always treated me and taught me accountability at a young age, and the sport of swimming teaches you that, because you stand on the blocks and you're in a Speedo in front of 52,000 people, and it's just you. And so the only thing judging you is the clock. And that's where, I kind of built that drive, built that heart, built that, because what you put into this sport is what you get out of it. I've met every athlete, every professional athlete that's out there, and the people with the most character are the ones that really take it upon themselves and put it on their shoulders, and they're the ones that go after it. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I have the bumper sticker, guys. Not born in Texas, but got here as fast as I could. I got recruited to the University of Texas in 2000, married a girl from Austin in 2010. Gotta make sure you know this. And then, I don't plan on leaving. I love it. And you're wondering why I would come up to Hutto and do this and have this conversation with you all. But I swam in the 2004 Olympics after my senior year at the University of Texas. Won a silver, a bronze, and a gold. And then went to swam another 4 years as a professional, traveled the world, and went to the 2008 Olympics, and I was burned out. Tripp knew it. Doug knew it. I was coming to Hutto more than I probably should because I was having trouble chasing that dream. And I knew it. And so I'm looking at the other end of the pool in Beijing and the 100 breaststroke, and I'm just going, gosh, is this all I had to show for myself? It's just a, and I didn't realize it at the time. I'm 27 years old, and I didn't realize it. And then I took 2 years off of swimming. Started doing some triathlons, worked for a startup company, did a bunch of other stuff. Wanted to go try and find myself outside of the sport. And the reason that I'm standing here talking to you today in Hutto is because there's a picture that in there. It's not the deer picture. There's another one, and I'm so glad y'all put it up there. I don't know who did it. You're going to take the credit for it because I sure didn't do it. But it's Tripp, myself, a guy named Jason, Neil Walker, who was an Olympian, and we're sitting on these benches right by a big old smoker. And the reason that I have 2 gold medals from the London Games is because of the conversation that I had in Hutto. I was debating on whether to come back for those Olympics to swim in the 2012 Olympics. I was debating on it. I said, guys, I don't know, it's a lot of work. This is in 2010. And I'm like, I don't know. I got 2 years. I feel kind of fat. They're like, dude, fat floats. Don't worry about it. I'm like, you just want to know somebody in it, No, you don't understand, man. You look streamlined. Look at you. We're watching you throw horseshoes. You're good, man. Just don't eat a lot of brisket tonight. You'll be fine. But I got to the point where they kind of turned to me and said, hey, are you going to regret this when you're 40 years old and you have kids running around if you didn't try for this? These are guys that are, 5, 10 years older than me, and they're telling me, hey, if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't think twice. I'd go after it. And that's where that whole journey of me coming back for those Olympics. And London ended up being my favorite Olympics. The town was great. The crowd was great. But to be team captain of that team again and help these younger kids come up and be a part of that, be a part of their stories was awesome. And I'm going to tell you a story right now that you probably didn't hear NBC tell you because I don't think a lot of people know it. Because I was there and I know for a fact nobody knows it. There was a young girl, she was 15 years old, and she was doing the 800 freestyle. Her name was Katie Ledecky. And she was just this ball of fire. It was awesome. And it was like, I grew up watching Rudy. I grew up watching these and I loved it. And it was like, oh yeah, they're going to win, And it was like, Mighty Ducks, yes, quack. That kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that fired me up as a little kid. And so I watched this girl, and she swam the prelims of the race, and she swam gutsy. I mean, 15-year-old kid in London. I mean, you stare at the camera, and you know that there's 8 million people behind that camera. You can't help but think that. And she was getting ready for the final, and she's in lane 2. And that day, we were all kind of hanging out around the village, and I said, Katie, you ready for tonight? We're sitting there at the dining hall. I was like, you ready for the final tonight? I'm like, it's going to be a great race. You look awesome, and I'm not expecting her to do anything. And she kind of like falls apart a little bit. She's like, I don't know. My coaches, they just want me to, they have a different race strategy than I have. And I was like, well, what do you want to do? She's like, I want to go for it. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, like, tell me, what do you mean you want to go for it? She's like, well, in swimming, the top 2 people in the race are in lane 4 and 5, and then outside, as you get outside, it's where you qualify, you're qualified slower. So she was in lane 2, and she's like, the girls in lane 4 and 5, they want to control the race. And in 800 meters, it's so many laps where they're going to want to control the race, control everybody else, and then basically have a drag race the last two laps. And I said, so what do you want to do? She's like, I want to go out there and I want to derail their whole race strategy. I am an emotional person. I was like, go for it. You can do this. I'm behind you 100%. I still get goosebumps thinking about it. I was like, yes, you can do this. You can totally do this. I know it. I believe it 100%. You can do it. Right? Well, she gets up for the 800 freestyle, and I stayed back in the village and watched it on TV because I was swimming the next night. And I'm watching it, and guys, she went for it. And I'm like, oh, crap. Oh, no, she listened to me! And the announcers are like, man, she's she's taking it out fast. I'm not sure when she's going to die. And you know what? I don't know if you guys saw this race. You probably may or may not have. She won. She won the gold medal. And it was, you know, everybody got asked afterwards, what was your favorite part of the Olympics? You know, you go on the Today Show, you do all that kind of media stuff. They say, oh, what was your favorite part? And to me, that was my favorite part. You know, it's not, you realize real fast that I really do enjoy the medals. I do. I love my gold and bronze. I love my other medals from everyone else. Each one of them has a story. But as you get older, you realize that when I was 9 years old and I held a gold medal for the first time, and I looked at my dad and said, Dad, this is what I want. And he goes, well, they don't sell them at Walmart, so you better figure out how to And you start to figure out how to get that dream, but you're so focused on the tangible thing, the gold medal. But now that I can look back on it all and see everything that I did, I don't care about the medals. I don't care about them at all, because the people that I met, the things that I got to do, the countries I got to go see, the people that I got to affect, you know, to make them reach their goals and do the things that do. Guys, the journey is so much better than the end. It is. And it never stops. It's not. And the thing that I tell kids all the time, and it can apply to anybody, because I still say it to my dad this day and to everybody else that I talk to, is that don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself, because I see it today where, you know, everybody gets a medal and everybody, and I'm like, no. Like, that to me is the not I don't believe in that, because well, Hutto's got it down, but everybody else does. The reason I say that is because in 2000, I was an 18-year-old kid. I sacrificed everything I had my senior year. I didn't go to my senior prom. I didn't do all this stuff. I trained every single day. I did absolutely everything my coaches told me to do for the 2000 Olympic trials. I wanted to go to Sydney, Australia. I wanted to make those Olympics. That's all I wanted to do. And I was the kind of person that if you told me I couldn't do something, I was going to prove you wrong. I was made fun of for being a swimmer by every football player. My car was egged as a kid. There's beyond stories of what things I had to go through to get to where I am today, and I don't regret 1 minute of it, because it made me the person I am. And so when I tell people, don't be afraid to fail, because every failure is sometimes, to me, just as much of a reward. It's so easy. It's so easy to handle success. Just like, high five, yeah, oh God, we won gold medal, great, you know. But it's how you handle failure that really makes the character of the athlete. You know, I sat next to LeBron James in 2008, and the guy doesn't know a lick about swimming. The only reason he's there is because he's like a huge Michael Phelps fan. And so I'm sitting there next to him. This is hands down the biggest dude I've ever seen. And I'm trying to keep my cool because it's the king, you know. So he's like, man, I don't know how you guys do it. We're sitting there for finals. And I was like, all right, look, he's going to dive in the water. He's going to dolphin kick. He's going to come up. He's going to swim down the other end. He goes, okay, and then it's over. I'm like, no, then he's going to swim back. Why? Because it's two laps in the pool. Well, okay. We're playing full court here, LeBron. All right? So we're having this conversation, and he says to me, he goes, I don't know how you guys do it. And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, when the gun goes off, you guys have to go. And I was like, yeah, I mean, of course. You know? And he goes, well, let me put it this way. He goes, I could miss every shot the whole night in a game, NBA game, miss every shot. But with 1 second to go, I can make the shot. I get lucky, or whatever it is. I make the shot. I win the game for my team. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty awesome. He goes, but when that gun goes off and you have to dive in the water, you have to be ready at that exact moment. And I was like, yeah. I mean, you know, I can't miss that shot. I have to make that shot. That's my only shot. And he's like, that means you're, you know, I think you guys are better athletes than us. And I was like, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Granted, my bank account doesn't look like yours, but if you want to go tell Nike that I'm a better Hey, I'm right behind you, buddy. But there's so many stories, there's so many things I could tell you about the journeys, but it's really about the people. It really is. And I grew up in Philadelphia. I grew up in a big town, so when I moved to Austin, I fell in love with the small town. I fell in love with getting away from it all. I grew up, and you go to these Olympics, and you go, and the media's all around you and everything. The first thing I want to do, and the first thing when I got off the plane, was to come to a place like Hutto. To come to a place where it's about the people. And to me, that's the best part. Is like trips like, hey man, we're going to go to Mario's, we're going to go get some Mexican food. I'm like, oh, cool. And then I walk in and I get this big old handshake, and I'm like, oh, who's that? He goes, that's Mario. I'm like, no crap. I was going to turn around and make that's like that's the gritty dirt, like underneath your fingernails kind of feel that I love, and that somewhat is lost in a big city, but it's I mean, you see it here, and that's why I find myself drawn back to this place, is because of that, and then just the people that you meet here, it's awesome. It really is, and just the structure of the families and everything, it just makes you realize that there's still good out there. Because I've been surrounded by both sides of it, and it's funny that when you want to be successful, you surround yourself with successful people, and I keep finding myself journeying towards North Austin. So I really appreciate you all letting me come out tonight. I'd love to. Oh, I'll tell you one story. It's actually pretty good. My wife loves it when I tell this story. It's one of my most embarrassing moments. I tell people this. I actually tell the little kids this story all the time, because they see you on TV all the time, and they see you, and then they're like, "Oh my God, it's Brendan Hansen! Oh my God, you know, Michael Phelps, but it's still cool." When you try and like dumb it down for them, you're like, "Hey, look, I'm not a big deal. I just worked really hard, and this is how I got there." And you hope that by the end of the day, they realize that you're just a normal person. So I always tell this most embarrassing moment, so that maybe they're like, "You're, wow, okay. If you can do it, I can do it." So it works out. So this is actually, I don't think I've ever told Doug or Chip this story. I was 2001. I missed making the Olympic team in 2000. I trained all my senior year. If you get first or second in the Olympic trials, you make the Olympic team. If you get third, you are like the first loser. It's like the worst spot to be. You don't ever want to see a 3, you don't want to be around a 3, it's just 3's bad. So I swim the 100 breaststroke at the Olympic trials, touch the wall, I get third by 1/100th of a second. Like, I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So my coach comes up to me and goes, "Brendan, look, you're having a great meet, don't worry about it. Swim the 200, and this is where I can hear the crowd. I'm behind it. I'm like, all I got to do is beat this kid next to me. He's the favorite. If I beat him, I'm going to make the Olympic team. This is going to be awesome." So I'm swimming my race, and I can hear the crowd. It's like, "Ah, yeah." When you're underwater, you don't hear crap. Doesn't matter where you are. So I'm swimming my race, and I turn for the last one. I got 50 meters of water, and I look and I can see this guy, and I'm like, oh my God, I got him. I got him. This is awesome. I'm going to make the Olympic team. I push out the wall. I start swimming down the other end. I'm like, I remember my last 3 strokes, I was like, I'm going to make the Olympic team. Touch the wall. Guess what place I got? Third by 1/100th of a second. Yeah, I'm in the Guinness Book of World Records for missing by the smallest margin. I'm like, a record I hope nobody ever breaks. But so the reason that leads me to my most embarrassing moment is I did make that Olympic team, and then I went the next year. I moved to the University of Texas. I swam for the University of Texas, and never forgot the way I felt when I didn't do my best. I mean, I failed, basically, in my opinion. I failed. I didn't do what I wanted to do, and so I bounced back from that. I got back up. I found a way to get better. And so I swam my whole freshman year as a freshman, I won NCAAs in both the 100 and 200 breaststroke, broke the American record in both of them, became the fastest American in breaststroke. Then I went to the World Championships that summer in Japan. Never been to another country before. Okay, I'm in Fukuoka, Japan. Everybody is shorter than me. I was like, yes, this is awesome. Like, oh, Mr. Hansen, good luck. You're so great. So I get up for my 200 breaststroke final. I'm not joking. I'm serious. That's actually what they say. So I swim. I remember getting up for my 200 breaststroke final, and I'm in lane 2. And you get behind the blocks with all your stuff on. You start taking everything off. And I just said to myself, you know what? I'm tired of not winning. I'm going to win this. And so I get up on the blocks, I dive in the water, and from the first stroke to the last stroke, no one ever came close to me. I won the 200 breaststroke, became the fastest breaststroker in the world, all because of not making the Olympic team in 2000. Now, after you win, this is where the embarrassing moment comes in. Wait for it. After you win, they take you into another room, you go up there, you get your medal, then you come down, they say, Mr. Hansen, oh, Mr. Hansen, you need to go into drug testing. So they take you into this other room. I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I'm signing papers. I might be signing my life away. I have no idea. I'm so stoked. I just won a world championship. I got a gold medal around my neck. I finally feel like I kind of came over, like, you know, achieved myself from the year before, and felt like it all kind of came through for me. And so I'm sitting there in this big common area, this big lobby area, and there's one seat open, and it's next to this really cute French girl. So I'm like, come on, this is awesome. So I go down and I sit next to her, and I'm kind of twiddling my thumbs, I'm waiting, and they say, oh, Mr. Hansen, are you ready to go #1 in this cup? And I said, sure, let's do it. I'm ready, man. I'll do whatever. I'll peed in the snow since I was 5. I'll go out here next to this French girl, it don't matter. So they take you into this little stall area. There's like elevator music. It's nice and dim. And there's a guy that sits there and watches you go #1 in this cup. Oh, it gets better. So I go #1 in my cup, and I walk back out, and you walk back out in the common area. And then they take you into another room where they're going to put in 2 bottles and send it off to the lab. And, you know, they figure out whether you're drug test, you know, you're whatever, positive for anything, whatever. So I walk back in, and at the time, the lids on them were just a snap lid. It wasn't screw or anything like that. It was like, basically, if you have kids, it's like a sippy cup with a little nozzle on the top so that you can end up pouring it into the 2 bottles. So I walk out with my #1 in my hand, and there's that seat still open up next to that cute French girl. So I was an eligible bachelor at the time. I walk up and I'm like, what's up? Pretty yellow, right? Oh yeah. Well, guys, no one expected me to win the 200 breaststroke at the World Championships. So everybody's like, oh, excited for me. And there's a guy from USA Swimming, and he's like, Brendan, oh my God, that's so awesome. And I turn to say something to him. And the cup hits my knee. And it was like in slow motion. Right out of the movies, guys. It was like, no. Cups falling. It hits the ground. The cap straight up pops up, hits me square in the face. I wish I was making this up. All of my #1 starts splashing on the French girl. And I'm like, completely froze. I'm trying to pat it off her. Because that's going to help, right? She's completely creeped out. The worst part about this story is that I have to wait around for like another 2 hours. I'm chugging Gatorades. And I still, like, to this day, even in 2012, I saw her and she still looks at me and she like marches over and I'm like, and now they call it the Brendan lid. It's actually a screw on top. So. Yeah. But I tell kids that story and they're like, ah, you peed on somebody. But the reason I tell them that is that, like, you know, I wasn't the most talented kid growing up on my team. It's all about who you are and what you believe in and what you believe in yourself and the people that you surround yourself with. That is whether or not you're going to achieve your goals. And that doesn't matter whether you're 5 years old and you start making goals to be an astronaut or whatever your goals are be, or if you're 55 years old. It's all about who you surround yourself with and the character of you as a person. And I'm telling you right now, it's not how you react to success, it's how you react to failure. The next time something doesn't go your way, think about what you're going to do. Because it's going to happen. Whether it's somebody pulls out in front of you, or there's bad things that happen every single day, but how you react to that situation, it makes the character of you as a person. And I've learned that through the people that I surround myself with, the fellows, with my family, with all of my friends. Because, guys, that's at the end of the day, that's all you have to show for yourself. It's not medals. I love my medals, but it's the people that you meet. That's the reward. That's the best part of it. And I don't regret coming back. I don't regret swimming every race I have. I don't regret every loss that I have, whatever it may be, because at the end of the day, I'm content with myself and I'm happy with where I'm going and what I've done and the people I've met along the way. And I really enjoyed meeting you tonight, and I hope that you guys continue to grow as a city, but please don't do it so fast. Because I only come up here every 6 months, and it's a different way to the Fell House every single time. That damn way. It used to be, oh, just take Country Road and you go right there and take a left at the church. I'm like, okay, the church now is buried, and then it's like something else. And I'm like, man, this place is growing up so fast, but really, congratulations on everything. I really enjoyed meeting Scott Martinez. Guys, he is the arrowhead of this spear for this city, and I think he's got the passion of a leader that I tried to emulate as the captain of the Olympic team, and he's one of those guys that I think you have a good guy in the right position. So thanks a lot for tonight. I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and I'm just a regular old person. So.
Thank y'all so much. Brendan, thank you. Wow, what can I say after remarks like Brendan, other than we have a band? Thank y'all so much for coming out to our year in review banquet. Brendan, thank you so much for continue coming to Hutto. We have a lot of fun in Hutto. Mario does make the tortillas sometimes. Maria doesn't show up, and they're always good. But come back to Hutto. You're one of ours. We appreciate your participation and your passion for our community. Thank you all. Have a good evening.